Hey, this is Eric Howard
And Leann Howard.
from Callahan, Florida. We're out here on the St. Johns River, and we're going to show you some tips and tricks. We're out here in West Volusia, here in Astor and DeLand area, and we're on Lake Woodruff this morning, and we are spider rigging with double rigs and single rigs using a very small hair jig on the top rig with a 1/2 ounce weight in between. And then we're running with moon jigs on the bottom. Of course, we're tipping with minnows, small as you can get out here on this St. Johns River. And we are going about 0.5 miles an hour because the water temperature is a little colder this morning. It's about 56 degrees. If it was about 60 or better, I'd go about 0.7. These black crappie on this river system are so used to current and movement. They're wanting their bait to move. I mean, they want moving. They don't want you to dead stick them in everything. So we're going about 0.5, 0.6 right now. This lake here ranges from 5 to 7 feet. It's a shallow lake. We're fishing the bottom because we had a cold front come through a couple days ago, and it takes a good 3 to 4 days to get these fish up in the water column. So a lot of them are in the mud, is what we say around here. And that's why we chose the kind of spider rig this morning versus long lining, because on a live scope, we can physically see it in their face on the bottom. So let's see if we can catch some here. I got one coming up here.
That's yours.
And of course, they're on the bottom. And what we're doing, we're making adjustments with the live scope to put it in their face. I mean, you can literally put it in their face and hold it on them. I mean, you can do the same thing one pole, but when you're in such a shallow lake like this, I feel like multiple poles are an advantage versus, you can still, pitch it. Oh, man, there was a good one there. Just come right out of the mud. I think the boat spooked it. Yep, oh, there he is right there. He's facing up. That's on your number 2. He's facing up, girly.
Got it.
That's a good one. Come here. That's a runner. That's a track star. That one came out of the mud. She was about 1.5 feet above them, which you've got to always have them above them because their eyes are on top of their head. And normally she nets my fish. Always give him a kiss. Send him on his way. Good job, Leann.
We watch each other's poles.
Oh, there's one right there.
We watch each other's poles most of the time because like he'll focus on trying to find the fish with his live scope, and I'll watch the rods. Sometimes he has to say, hey, you're number 3 or you're number 2. But
we normally run 8, but since we're scoping, I find it a little bit easier. Lower it down. Lower your number 1. There they are right there. There's a whole bunch right there. Is that your single rig? Mm-hmm. Okay. Coming right out in their boat. But while we do 6, we could do 8 during the tournament. Or in Florida, you can do as many as you want. And another little 3/4 pounder. Caught on the moon jig. They love moon jigs around here. A lot. It varies by colors. It's called a Tango we're using right here. Works pretty good. We always put the moon jigs on the bottom rigs and kind of put a hair jig on the top to kind of act as a teaser. About 90% of the time they'll hit on that bottom rig. We're always scoping each other's rods because you never know when we're looking the other way or dipping down or taking a fish off. We're always got our eyes on these rods, and we got them numbered. I don't know. Some people may call it different, but we always number ours from the first one here outward, like 1, 2, and 3. So if I see hers, like earlier I think I said 3, she knows exactly where to go in her rods to reach if she's not looking at it. And of course, if we run a fourth one, that's our outer. And that gets a lot of action too, just that when I'm on the river, that number 4 gets tangled up quite a dang bit. So that's why we're doing 3 this week.
Your national champions, TJ and Alex Palmer.
Crappie Masters All-American Tournament Trail is brought to you by American Ethanol, Humminbird, HH Rods and Reels, Genco Fishing, The Bass Tank, and these other fine sponsors. West Volusia, Florida is the land of giant oaks, beautiful lakes, birdwatching, and more. Discover the timeless beauty of Blue Springs State Park. Stay at a modernized historic inn. Visit one of the local craft breweries, or treat yourself at our award-winning restaurants. And of course, don't miss the magic of the great outdoors and all of the activities that West Volusia has to offer. Fish, explore, relax. Come and visit West Volusia, classic old Florida with a whole new vibe.
Oh,
I got him.
a little tight, but as you can see, they're coming off the bottom, nosing up on them right now. We're literally got hers was like almost in the mud. That's why she had to reel it just a hair so that crappie could see it above its head. And that was the Tango Moon Jig, chartreuse and buttercup color. Some of the colors that works good is Acid Rain. Anything with yellow in it works really well. Oh, fish on. It's a little bit better now. He's a runner, he's a track star. Oh, yeah. Gonna get it all messed up.
Yep.
Now this one hit on a hair jig. There's the teaser. Got it good too. Black and pink works good here. Anything pink or yellow with this stained water works good. You know, if you're coming here to St. Johns River or the Harris Chain or this area right here in, you know, Astor and DeLand, you know, the colors of jigs I'd recommend is black and pink. Anything that's got pink is chartreuse. Acid Rain, which is anything yellow and white and black. You know, jig head colors, you know, would be, you know, an orange color head. Works really good here. You know, what we like to do is on jig head colors is whatever the body is, say it's yellow, it's chartreuse. We try to go with a different color head because what it does, it gives that profile 3 different colors, like a tricolor. And for some reason, by having 3 different colors to it, we feel like we get more hits with it instead of just having the same color jig head as the body. And of course, the moon jigs work amazing here. And what the moon jigs resemble is this whole entire river system's got grass shrimp in it, and you know, shrimp, because you know this whole entire river system runs from south to north, and it connects up in Jackson with intercoastal. So we get shrimp up, physical shrimp, regular shrimp down this far south, but the grass shrimp are here all the time. So that's what that moon jig is resembling, is a grass shrimp. And another good color is like a, they call it like a peppercorn color. It's like a brown color, like a rustic color. And that's what resembles a grass shrimp. You know, smaller the better. It's amazing these big girls like the smaller profile than versus big. So I suggest not fishing anything really longer than 2 inches. Keep it 2 inches or shorter. It's a little bitty, it almost looks like a extremely big mosquito. That's what it looks like. You you can actually catch them in the river. I mean, in the grass. I see them all the time at Crescent Lake, which is just north of here, and everything. But
there are some bait shops that sell them.
There are some bait shops that do sell them, but very far in between. And that's a better one. That's a better one.
Crappie Masters All-American Tournament Trail is brought to you by the National Corn Growers Association, Minn Kota, Power Pole, Millennium Marine, Ozark Rods, and these other fine sponsors.
Hey, on the St. Johns River here, these black crappie, these specks they call them around here, they are the hardest fighting fish, and the reason why is they're so used to being in a river system, and then they fluctuate back into these lakes and into these creeks, so they're used to a lot of current. You know, right now the current's at 1 mile an hour. You know, when we get a heavy rain here, it goes from 0.5 to 0.6 miles an hour. On a normal basin, it doubles up. So these fish are strong. They're very strong fish in this river system. A lot of river systems are like that, but for some reason these black crappie compared to like your regular lake black crappie are so strong because they're fighting current all the time in the St. Johns River. So, you know, when they hit, they go east and west. You know, the white crappie goes north and south a lot, or they just come up to the top as they hey, net me. Just caught this one right here, spider rigging. This is a tournament fish, probably about a 160, 165. Like I said earlier, caught on a yellow and chartreuse jig, yellow body with a red head. Not too bad. These fish are real healthy right now. You know, the white crappie bite and the black crappie bite of what you use to catch them versus the white crappie. The black crappie are always going to need a smaller presentation, always. 2 1/4, 2 inches, heck, 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches. You know, a lot of us like to use the number 4 hook because it's a nice small hook. The black crappie's mouth compared to a white crappie's mouth is much smaller. I mean, you look at some of these white crappie, you can almost put your fist in their mouth. So they're almost kind of like the largemouth bass of crappie fishing. So, you know, when you're fishing white crappie, you're using a number 1 or number 2 hook, a little bit bigger hook, a bigger presentation. Not all the time. If the fight's finicky on a white crappie, you want to downsize. But the black crappie, you should always have a small 2 inch or less. And, you know, we use number 4 and a number 6 hook is the number, you know, the smaller presentation because, you know, their mouths are smaller. So that's what I recommend. Always downsize. 1, when the bite is difficult on either species. And 2, the black crappie need a smaller presentation. Smallest minnows you can find. You know, you don't want these medium or large size minnows on black crappie like you would use on white crappie. So that I'd recommend the smaller the better on black crappie as far as the presentation of either the jig or the minnow. What we're using today is we're running with 16-foot soft touches. The soft touches have got more of a limber to them versus our regular red pushing poles. The red pushing poles are a little bit stiffer. Why these were designed was for the real particular black crappie bite. I mean, the real small,
sensitive,
very sensitive tip. Got a lot of bend to them. Cold fronts come through the membrane on the mouth, so these fish get soft, and you don't want to like gorilla hook set them, you know, because you're gonna just rip right through their lips. So, but the soft touches, we've changed over to that when we fish this particular area for black crappie, and I tell you what, our catch ratio is a whole lot more as far as not losing as many fish, because they're a little bit limber. What we got at combo was the HH 150 series spinning reels. It's got a collapsible, you know, arm on it, so you could put it in your rod rack. A lot of people are running with rod racks, and the biggest complaint is my handles get caught up. So we can come out with just missed them. A 150 series. You know, these come in 12, 14, and 16 foot lengths. You know, if you've got a shorter boat, like a small John boat, you're fishing by yourself, Yeah, I don't recommend these long 16 footers because it makes it tough on you to net it by yourself, you know. So the shorter pole, the easier it is to net. So, you know, I'd recommend the 12 and 14s for that. But if you got a partner and, you know, if you want to start out and, you know, 16 is fine, but, you know, a lot of people go with the 14s. We got the red pushing poles, you know, the same lengths, 12, 14, and 16 foot. So I run 6 pound fluoro K9 is what we use. 6 pound is, you know, a very versatile pound to use on, you know, our casting rods. We use the same thing, which we've got several lengths on those 5.5, 6, and 7 foot casting rods. We got the Storm Surge rod that, you know, was soon to be called Storm Surge. That was Kegel's rod coming out this spring. We still got the Kegel rods available. And of course, the War Pig, the 12 foot is a Typhoon. The War Pig is a 13.5 foot, 7.6 ounce, you know, carbon fiber IM8 woven together. You know, so we've got those available. And also we got our pulling rods. We long line with them, and also people pull crankbaits with them. And we got several different lengths, you know, for, you know, different, you know, preferences of lengths. We got them 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18 foot rods. Me and Leann, we run 16 and 18s off the sides, and she runs 8 and 10 footers off the back when we long line. We're about to put up the spider rigging rods and reels here. There's several different techniques that you can catch fish here on this St. Johns River and the adjacent waters. Now we're about to do a technique that will have bobbers on our long lining poles. It's almost like a long lining technique, but it's a precise depth of where our jigs are gonna be. We're gonna be using a bobber with a lead on the bottom, and then we'll be using a single 16th on some rigs and a single 32nd on some rigs. On the single 16th, you're gonna be put about 3.5 feet down from the bobber, and then with your 32nd, you're gonna put it 5.5 feet down off your bobber. So you're pretty much long lining, but you've got them dragging behind the bobber, and you'll see when we have it out, you'll actually see it, the distance in the lanes that we choose, and normally it's about like 2.5 feet separation between the two lines when we're pulling these bobbers. And you'll know when you get a hit because that rod will bend. And when you're in a shallow lake, when the boat's going across it, I mean, it's a big target coming out. So what happens is these fish come around this boat and then gather way in the back. So that's why we sling them out about 60 to 80 feet behind there. So when those fish gather behind the boat, we pick them off. So that's why a lot of times the person fishing the back of the boat gets a lot of the action, because she's directly in the center of their path after they go around the boat and gather in the very back here. It's a great technique during the wintertime when they are schooling up compared to spider rigging. Yeah, you'll get multiple hits, but you can really get multiple hits out here long lining. We are using the pulling rods by HH Rods and Reels. I prefer out the side. I got a 16 footer and an 18 footer on both sides. And Leann's got 8 and 10 footers off the back. As you can see, our lanes are about 2.5 to 3 feet wide in the back with the bobbers. The bobbers we're pulling behind us. The speed we normally go is anywhere between 0.9 and 1.1 miles an hour. So per se, if I want to get them a little bit deeper, I'll slow down to 0.9. Right now we're going 1 mile an hour. Or if I'm getting a shallower bite, I'll speed up to 1.1, so I'll bring it up in the water column a little bit. They'll trail behind all the bobbers. As you can see, the lanes in the back here, we've got a lot of lanes, and they're about 3 foot apart, which that's what you want, a 3 foot separation, so you're covering the water column as a whole. So you're covering about a 45 to 50 foot swath behind the boat. You really want your rod tips as low to the water as possible, like your spider rigging, because two things. One, to see the bite, so the rod tip will come up. When it tips up, you got your bite. Go ahead and set a medium hook set. You ain't got to do a full-fledged hook set like if you're spider rigging or one pulling, because they technically have already hooked themselves, and all you're trying to do is singe that dang gum hook further into their mouth without ripping their lip. Also, too, when you're bringing a big fish in, keep that rod tip down and just have a steady reel. And keep that rod tip steady, because if you're doing this with a rod tip, there's a good chance you're going to help the fish get undone. Leann just caught a fish. We've got the Ultrex on north, so it's going a straight line. We caught that fish on 0.9. I kind of slowed it down a little bit, got the jig down a little bit in the water column, and she caught that fish right there. So with it being on autopilot, it allows me to not worry about nothing other than other boats to come over and net her fish. The other 7 poles are still fishing as we're still bringing in a fish. So that's the advantage of having a trolling motor that has those options. The reason why a lot of times we use the technique of long line is that these lakes are like a bowl. They don't have a whole lot of structure, and so you're pretty much covering water, chasing fish. The only structure really is the knobs and everything, the cypress knobs and stuff like that, right along the bank. You know, when they go up shallow, then you've got a little bit of structure to fish. When you're out here long lining, even if you're just pulling jigs without the bobbers, but we're running with bobbers on ours right now, when you make a turn, you don't want to make a very sharp turn. You want to make just a subtle turn into it, because if not, if you can see the bobbers back here in the back, they will get intertwined and you'll have a mess. So when you're making your turns, make a gradual turn. You can't do a 90 or 80 degree. If not, you're gonna have stuff all messed up. So that's including when you're long lining too, without the bobbers, more so than when what we're doing now, and we're pulling these bobbers right now. As you can see, they're keeping in their lanes as long as you don't make a quick turn. About to release these 2 black crappie into the water here on the St. Johns River. Conservation is key to the future for our grandchildren, our children, to continue to catch these nice slabs we're doing right now. So always release what you're not going to eat. Going back in to get bigger and to keep on producing. Uh-oh, we're gonna have thought he's gonna jump out of the water. That's what it's about, people. Conservation, keep it up.